What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 231. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton. Joining me yet again for another episode is my teammate, Mr. Michael DeRosa. And the last time we came to you guys for episode 230, a little bit of different circumstances. Again, I apologize. I got super sick. I was sick at the end of the workday, came in, tried to force my way through it. And as we were unfortunately talking about Kansas, ironically, I just kept getting worse. I've never cut a show short before, so I apologize, but we are making it up to you today, Michael. We're doing our Big Ten predictions today. We've got our full 1 through 18. We're going to come at you, reasons why, how many tournament teams, the superlatives with the awards, and we've got a special guest. Our fans here have seen him before. He's a great, great friend of this show. We will be joined here in about 13 minutes by the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Mike Rhoades, will be back on the show with us. Michael, we had Coach on a time or two last year. He sent a really nice video in for our 200th episode. I'm really excited to get to talk to Coach again because things have changed in that program. They brought in our Coach Para to be the GM, so I'm excited to kind of talk about that. But if we're being honest, and I think he'll appreciate the honesty, they're in for a challenge in a better Big Ten as far as depth goes this year.
Yeah, and they got a couple interesting pieces. Definitely some guy I want to ask him about is Caden Mingo, the freshman, just because how I look at like freshman of the year in that award landscape, it's not about who necessarily the best player is. Obviously, that plays a role into it, right? But also who's going to play a lot. And if you're looking at that Penn State roster, looking up and down, the highly touted 4-star, 5-star, if you really want to get crazy with it, but for the most part, he was a 4-star. Caden Mingo is probably playing a lot of minutes this year. He's going to take a lot of shots. So that's definitely a guy that if they end up hitting their ceiling and overperforming where both you and I have them ranked, it will probably be in large part due to him.
Well, and I completely agree. Their highest, we talked about it last year when it happened. Because if you remember, the timing was crazy because Coach joined us at the beginning of November. And then it was 4 days later, they got their highest ranked recruit ever in program history. And we made the joke with Coach Rhoades and, obviously through Coach Para that, hey, man, come on our show. You get the highest ranked recruit Penn State's ever seen, a top 50 guy. There's no coincidence. So we're hoping to maybe transfer a little good luck heading into the season again for Coach Rhoades and Penn State. But I do want to talk to him. Like I said, he's supposed to join us around the 4:15 hour mark here, East Coast time on the show. So in roughly 10 minutes, I want to ask him about how the loss of Yannick Niederhauser affects him, because he's a dude I saw in person at IU and thought, man, this kid looks really good, really raw, but he was a 3-point shot away from really being what I thought in a year or two a pro. Well, he gets taken in the last pick of the first round, and he became a first-round draft pick. So good for Yannick, but that's a huge hole that Penn State's going to have to fill moving forward this year that maybe they thought at the beginning of the year that they would have him back.
Yeah, and to fill that spot, this is a kind of like connect it little full circle a bit. They brought in Sasachani, who was on the USC Flames last year, which was Coach Ishan, who we also interviewed through Coach Para, of course, who had that connection. So there could have been something there to get Sasa. Now, he's probably starting at Penn State, and he was one of the better offensive rebounders in the country, but also 2 years back at Xavier, he was another bench piece. He was just okay. So it's definitely a little bit of a jump, and it's definitely not the first round pick that you could have had if Niederhauser didn't just like skyrocket during the combine. But it makes sense. His game is like kind of tailored to like the modern NBA in the sense of like, he's not going to need a lot of shots. He'll just defend the pick and roll and give you decent bench minutes, But yeah, that's a huge loss for Penn State. You lost a guy that could have been a first team all Big Ten guy when we're looking at it now. So like, yeah, it's definitely an interesting team this year. I'm very interested to hear his thoughts. Obviously he's not going to come out here and say, we're going to suck, because like that would be a bad job as a coach. Because I want to buy into the team. He's not going to come over here and be like, oh no, we're not going to do nothing. But I kind of want to hear what he has to say, because I'm intrigued by that roster a little bit. Definitely more than some other teams in the Big Ten for sure.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Sasha Ciani there. Like, he's projected, our friends over at Burner Ball, they're great depth chart that they've kept running since the end of the year with updated rosters.
Mm-hmm.
They have him slotted in to start right now. So it'll be interesting if coach maybe tips his hand a little bit, or if it's the freshman Ivan Juric, or maybe they go somewhere different. Maybe they bring in Tabor Mirotic. Or I'm curious to hear about potential rotations. What I know and I'm excited about is Caden Mingo, Freddie DeLeon will give them an opportunity in the backcourt, because DeLeon, we talked to him last year about it. Didn't really get his opportunity at Tennessee because he was such a log jam there in front of him at the guard spot. Talented four-star kid, former four-star kid. He got an opportunity last year. Will he make that step, as a senior year? So I like Penn State's starting backcourt, but we'll talk to coach, kind of maybe get a little insight on how practice, workouts, and everything's going, an idea heading into the season. He should be joining us in the next 8 minutes or so. So we are looking forward to that. Before we get into our Big Ten breakdown and our previews and predictions, and coach joins us, I want to ask you about this. There's two threads since we've last talked that kind of stand out to me. I just want to get your thoughts on. First, about the NCAA, 13 players at 6 schools and gambling plots. I click on the article here and it would tell me the schools, but I think it was East Michigan, Temple, Arizona State, New Orleans, North Carolina A&T, and Mississippi Valley State. And then also, what's your thoughts on this whole Watford situation? Because it was reported that 6 players they NCAA deemed received impermissible benefits for off-campus housing. And then the NCAA came out today and said that we've not suspended anybody. We've not taken any action. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, the Wofford stuff I think was very interesting. The gambling stuff, I mean, it's just, we got to see how that plays out, right? And who knows? But the Wofford stuff I found very interesting, just because, like, the numbers they threw out there, it was like $84 to $108. It's like that.
Not much at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, okay. Apparently they only found out because, like, the volleyball team went to the AD and was like, this is happening. Like, why don't we have this? And they're like, oh, that's not supposed to happen. And then you fire the coach for something really minor for a team that made the tournament like 2 years ago. Now, essentially what you're doing is you're also going to, like, right before the season, some of these guys are just going to be like, okay, then I'm going to transfer. And who's going to look down and be like, oh yeah, their coach gave them $100 so they could live or eat or whatever it was, right? And be like, oh yeah, no, we can't have that guy. It's like, I don't know. I don't get it, especially in this current landscape of college basketball. That just kind of baffled me. This close to, like, practice is, like, really kicking into gear too. Like that, I think that's next week. Like, just such a bizarre situation. And that still, like, kind of struggling to, like, put it all together, but, like, it's just so bizarre. And that was a team that I don't think was expected to be particularly great in the SoCon. Now you're looking at it, it's like, bizarre situation.
It's a wild situation in the world of NIL. I mean, and the coach, Dwight Perry, former University of Kentucky player, did a really good job of getting them to the NCAA tournament. Wofford, over the last decade and a half, whatever, has been very good inside the SoCon, consistently towards the front of that conference, always kind of a threat. Everybody remembers was Fletcher McGee in that tournament run from 6-7 years ago. So it's just a weird situation. We're talking $84 to $108 or whatever it was, the margin, and we're firing coaches allegedly, and we're suspending players allegedly over that little amount of money, when people and the talent can go get NIL deals worth 7 figures. It kind of seems asinine to me.
A one-game suspension, fine, whatever.
Yep.
I think the NCAA would have just been like, yeah, 1-game suspension, you're fine, whatever. Firing for I don't know, that it seems like a team that wanted to get out of that deal and was looking for an excuse for it. But again, that is just complete speculation from the outside with absolutely zero factual basis behind it. Want to very much reiterate that. I'm just guessing because I'm an idiot.
No, and look, I think that's a plausible idea that maybe there was some tension there and they wanted a reason to maybe let Coach Perry go, or maybe it's just they don't play any games with potential violations. But again, why is it a violation when you're talking about that minuscule amount of money, considering, put it this way, if this happened at Duke, Kentucky, Carolina, Kansas, et cetera, , this would not even be a topic of conversation.
Maybe it even does, and we just never heard about it.
Exactly. It would have been nothing, right? So for Watford, or Watford, we'll have to keep an eye on those guys and see, I guess, follow their journey and see if how much this does affect them. But if the rumors are true that 6 players are suspended, you got to think for a team like that's going to be a long struggle to try to get out of in short notice here when you can't go recruit and bring anybody in. Speaking of, last thing I want to bring up before hopefully Coach is joining us here in about 3 minutes. This is college football news, but to me, I think it translates to college basketball. It came out yesterday that NCAA said that they are doing away with spring transfers in college football, the transfer portal being. The reason I bring this up for college basketball is we've long talked about the stupidity of how the portal opens up so early. It opens up during the NCAA tournament. So like last year, for instance, those Final Four teams of Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke had to not only focus on trying to win a national championship in a Final Four, but try to hit the portal, get early tape, get early intel on guys, try not to make sure they lost guys in the process. It's so stupid. So do you think, because football obviously leads the way in college sports in the NCAA, now that they have eliminated the spring transfer portal, do you think we're one step closer to finally at least the NCAA moving the start of the transfer portal back a week or two in our sport?
Maybe. I would lean no, honestly, just because, I mean, they kind of, what they did the last couple of years is they've shrunken like the portal time when you can enter. So instead of it being like whenever the deadline is now, it was like early on you could just enter in August and like no one would say anything. And it's like, that's bizarre. Then we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, you got 60 days. I think it's 45 now or something like that. That, I don't know. Maybe I mean, ideally, obviously, of course, they'd push it back a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like it'll be a little bit of time before that actually happens, just because I don't know how many, like obviously a couple coaches complained about it, particularly Tom Izzo, who we're going to talk about his team in a couple minutes. Like he was just like, yeah, I'm not going to recruit until our season's over. I'm not even going to look at the portal. And they have an injury.
That's tricky though. I mean, Coach Izzo knows better than us. He's a Hall of Famer, the all-time wins leader in the Big Ten. So who are we to tell him? But that's also very risky, because if you wait until the season's over with, you've lost potentially a week or two of getting guys. And we saw this last year. How fast are dudes entering the portal, and within 7 days sometimes finding a new home.
This year with the like house settlement stuff that kids were like, yeah, we got to sign before that so we can make sure we get our money.
Cam Williams he hit the portal from Tulane, joined Kentucky while they were getting ready to play Illinois in NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
He had his new team while his new team was still playing in NCAA tournament. So it's like you can't wait too long. But but in principle, I understand what Coach is saying. Like, I want to make sure my guys, my team gets their full attention before I start worrying about next year's team or poaching from maybe friends of mine in the coaching circle or whatever. But it's a dog-eat-dog world, especially right now, and you got to look out for yourself or you're going to slip behind.
Well, 100%. And then they have the injury to Caleb Glenn. I don't remember how long he's out for, but I know it's like a sustained period of time where it's going to matter. And now you look at the depth of that team, and it's like, it's not great, right? And they needed a guard. They bring in Trey Fort, but like other than that, I like Divine Ugochukwu. We'll talk about him in a little bit, I imagine. But like the team, it's not deep. Like it's definitely not the roster they had last year, right? So yeah, just a weird situation in how the portal works, and just a weird world.
Yeah. I'm assuming we have Coach Rhoades with us now. Coach, are you there? Because I don't see a camera yet. Are you there?
No, we're just waiting for Coach to join.
Perfect. So I will put back into the lobby then. But I almost said Coach Pear, Freudian slip there. We are waiting on Coach Rhoades to get with us, but obviously you guys can tell he will be here soon. I'm excited to talk to him about this team, though. Mm-hmm. Like sincerely, I'm excited, and talk to him about the trip since Indiana revealed their full schedule today, keeping it in the Big Ten theme here. They are making the trip, Penn State being back to Bloomington. I think it's December 9th. It's right before Indiana goes to play Kentucky on the 13th. So went last year, got a chance to see his team in person. Bloomington's only 45 minutes to the house. So selfishly, I hope to make that trip again to be able to go catch him. And we'll see. I don't know if Coach Pear will be there or not, but that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There was. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. You go. Sorry, I apologize.
No, you're good. This brings up scheduling, and we're going to talk about some of these Big Ten schedules while we wait on Coach to finally hop on here. Look, Indiana, I think, brand new roster, of course, brand new head coach, a lot of excitement around Bloomington. I think they did get the right hire. But this is a very much let's kind of tiptoe and try to get a bunch of early wins because this schedule is brutally – like we talked about Kansas the brief time that we did the show back on Monday and how rough there's – I mean, it's just grind after grind after grind. Indiana's, no offense to our Hoosier fans out there, that schedule is Cupcake City with the exception of Marquette, Kansas State, Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, they've got games like all the way up till the Big Ten play begins when they open up with Minnesota on the road. It's a lot of cupcakes. What's your thoughts? Because I see the point of like, especially if you're a new coach at a new place like Indiana, like you want to get wins, kind of brand new team, try to get your team into it. But there's also, as we saw last year and we've seen every year, when you looked at Auburn's schedule from last year and Alabama and Houston, you play these like meat grinder schedules. It does pay dividends if you have a team you believe in.
That's the part that if you have a team you believe in and you're a coach who just took a job, you don't probably when they were putting some of these games together, they didn't know who was going to be on the roster, right? Like you didn't know what was going on because like Coach DeVries took the job late March, I want to say. He knew his son was coming with him, obviously. But like other than that, like they were still recruiting for a sustained period of time that you're probably putting a decent amount of these games together before that. Some of these games are like holdovers from Mike Woodson's staff even. I believe the Kent State game is. So to that part of it, like that is part of it. And then the other thing is it is year one. These guys still have to learn how to play together. Like this is going to be their first game for, I mean, what? They brought in 10 transfers, freshmen. I don't think there's a single holdover, frankly, that, yeah, it takes time to learn how to play together, to play with a group that you might want to have some of these easier games, these teams that you're more talented than. So you learn how to play together, where you need to be, understand, like feel for everyone. So from that perspective, yeah, I kind of get it, frankly. It's tough to like immediately learn on the fly and like get those things going early versus a team like Marquette, for example. They're all about continuity, which is why they're always best early in the season. Last year we had Marquette after like December as like a top 5 team just because they were beating everybody.
Yeah, we
like,
did.
Purdue tough. They went to Maryland and won. That was a Maryland team that ended up making the Sweet 16. Like they were great early in the season. Then as everyone else gelled together, their advantage kind of fell off. And then also there were obviously other factors to it, but that was part of it, right? That for a team like Indiana, it makes sense to just want to schedule a little slower, hope you can get like a win, 2 here in these big games, stay alive enough, and then take advantage in Big Ten play for just a lot of these like teams that have so many different new pieces. I think it makes sense.
No, and look, I'm not completely crapping on the idea because there are reasons, valid reasons, because you have a whole new roster. Tate and Connerway, if I could spit it out. Wilkerson, like you've got a whole new roster basically. Tucker DeVries coming back from injury. We saw how good he is at his stops at Drake in West Virginia before the injury last year. So it takes time to gel. So I'm not crapping on the idea, but at the same time, and I know for like our Indiana people, they want to see schedules comparable to what Kentucky and Louisville and Kansas and these teams are playing. But the goal for Indiana, what we'll talk about here in just a little bit when we do break down the Big Ten in full, on my paper, I have 11 teams possible making the NCAA tournament out of this conference this year. So the conference is deep in quality opposition. So you're going to have to find ways to win in conference, but you're also, as we all know, non-conference wins matter a whole lot, especially when you go head-to-head here. There we go. I think we finally got him here. I think we finally got him. Welcome to the show. He's
we got some. Never ask a basketball coach technology questions, right? IT questions. So, well, Friday in the fall with no home football game, nobody's around. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's lonely around here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We mentioned at the top, he's been so good to us. We love having conversation with him. We have a lot of love for him and his program. Welcome back to the show, the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Mike Rhoades. Coach, we are glad to have you back. As you can tell, coming firing out hot already. But hey, Penn State's got a big one next week, though. We're talking about no home game this week. Next week with Oregon coming to town.
Been, a lot of excitement up here. All our sports, man, are a lot of fun. And I went to a volleyball game the other night, even though unfortunately we didn't win. It just the environment, the excitement, the students, the people in the community. And anytime there's a sporting event in State College with the Nittany Lions, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. So it's a cool place to be. Next week will be crazy.
Imagine, yeah.
I'm sure that'll be a whiteout environment if I had to take a guess for the Oregon game. Yes. Coach, first of all, we're happy that our guy, Coach Parrott, is on staff with you as far as the GM role goes there. We're very happy for that. And we're happy for all that you've done. I want to lead off with this. We were talking about before you got on. I think if you ask most people, maybe if talking to yourself at the beginning of last season, you would maybe have thought that Niederhauser would have been around for a couple of years, but he really blossomed last year. Got to see it in firsthand when you guys came to Bloomington last year and was there live covering that game. The skill set to translate to the NBA was there. Like, I thought maybe he was missing an outside shot, but he clearly went and impressed a lot of NBA people. Ends up in the first round. I'm sure on one hand, obviously, you're clearly happy for Yannick, but that's maybe a hole too that you thought, man, maybe we'd have had him for a couple more years. How has life been since he left, got drafted, and then now you're trying to figure out, because you brought in some new pieces, that center stretch role there. Talk to us about that, because you have a first-round draft pick to your name at Penn State now.
Yeah, well, look, it makes life much harder, right? You lose a player, but look, I've said this right from the bat, and I'm saying it, and I'm from my heart isn't that our job to help these guys pursue their goals and their dreams? And he got to it maybe a year earlier than we all thought, but darn it, man, it's supposed to be. Does it hurt us? Yeah, we had a chance to have one of the best centers in the country. If he stayed, he might even be a lottery pick, but he had a chance to get in front of GMs and NBA scouts, and he did what he needed to do on that stage, and it got himself an awesome situation in LA with the Clippers, and I'm super proud of him. And I say it all the time to our guys: does your daily decisions match your goals and your dreams when it comes to the game? Are you making daily decisions that match your goals and your dreams? And to be honest with you, Yannick, from the day we got him until the day he left us, he was all about getting better all the time, put the work in, redid his body, took care of his body. Him and Brent Scott, our big man coach, would go to the side basket after practice every day and work on something, talk about something, and get better. Even when he had a great game, the next day, he was calling Big B to that side basket. Let's get working. Let's get reps in. When he had a bad game, he didn't make excuses. He didn't complain like most kids do these days. It's everyone else's fault. He took complete ownership in his year. And so what happened was it catapulted him becoming a first rounder maybe a year earlier than we all thought. Does it hurt our team? Yeah, it hurts our team. But this is what we're here for, man. And, I've been fortunate. I've been at two places now where we put guys in the NBA. Bones Highland, of course, went early. Yannick went early. We've had other guys. We have guys all over the world that are professional basketball players. Some doing awesome. Other guys figuring out early in their careers. So I'm glad. I take great pride in that, because I want our program to always be, Josh, about development. It's always about getting our guys better. So does it impact our team this year? Absolutely. We got all these new faces. We're probably one of the youngest teams in Power 5 basketball. But, hey, it is what it is, and we're going to make the best out of it, and we're going to see if we can develop some other guys to pursue that dream like Yannick and build our program the right way.
To that same extent, Yannick was a guy you guys got from Northern Illinois, if I remember correctly. And his numbers didn't particularly jump off the page. And then you look at what he did at Penn State. He was so much better. What do you think that means for your program going forward, that you've shown you can take a guy from a MAC school and turn him into a pro player just 1 year? What do you think that means for you guys going forward?
Well, you always want to be right in evaluating, right? Yep. And sometimes you fit a system and a style of play differently than the one you were at or others out there that you're looking at. I love versatile big guys that can move and run and step away from the basket and be comfortable with the ball. I just think you can do a lot more with those guys. Of course, Yannick was a vertical player all the time. Well, he played with Ace Baldwin, who's one of the best lob throwers in the country last year. So that, great fit. But then I just think we probably allowed him to play more like he did in Switzerland growing up. And then, of course, when he went to Germany and playing a European style of basketball, that was probably a little bit more than just staying in the dunker position and posting up on the block or going high-low. We were putting him in space, allowing him to I think he's a great pivoter and a great mover, and he is a great combination basketball player. What I mean by that is he can make combination moves and be smooth with it. As a guy at 7 feet, we just play that way, and I think that translates to the next level. So it allowed him to really grow. And then I just think he got a lot of confidence early in the year, playing really well and getting confidence that just sort of snowballed. And that's how it's supposed to be.
Coach, I remember last season we talked about Freddie DeLeon because covering him, when he first entered college as a 4-star kid, going to Tennessee, playing for Rick Barnes, didn't see the time maybe he wanted, but there was also a log jam in his role there. Makes the transfer, comes to you guys last year, and you saw him start to blossom. He started to show kind of that 4-star ranking, if you will. 28 starts last year, 9.4 points, and he started to really develop alongside your backcourt. You get him back this year. Talk to us about what you've seen from him from the end of last year through the summer so far, and what you expect from Freddie, because everybody, since we've been doing this, we know the talent's there, and you saw it start to blossom last year. Year 2 with him, what are your expectations for him, and maybe what's the expectation for himself? Because you got a player there that could kind of take the mantle and I think lead you guys in scoring, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think he could lead us in a lot of things. I think the thing with Freddie is the expectations coming out of high school, fair or unfair, it doesn't matter. I think they were so high that his lack of success early in his college career magnified, where, man, there's a level of growth no matter what. And I always say growth is like this, right? It's never straight up. And so you got to go through a bunch of stuff to get where you want to go. And he's done that, right? And in these 2 years. And so I thought he showed as the year went on, he got better and better. I thought he got tougher. I thought he just matured. And now, we're going to challenge him. I've challenged him all summer to take the next step as a young man, that you gotta turn into a mature basketball player to become the best player you could be. And that doesn't mean overnight. It just means that every experience that you have, as Freddie has, or I have, or we all have, we got to learn from it and make sure those moments and those experiences improve us. And I think he's taken that to heart. And, it's, I always say that your career it keeps going. It doesn't stop. So it doesn't always go the way you want initially, but it's where you get to. It's what direction you're going in. And he's really worked hard on his body this year. He spent a lot of time in the gym this summer. Now he's got to have a clear mind of just going to be an aggressive guard in the Big Ten and continue to learn to make the game easier. He could shoot the ball. He's very fast in transition. He's good off of ball screens. I think his defense has improved over the course of last year, where, he has to become a big time presser for us, which I think he knows that, and he's really accepted that part of it. And so let's just blossom in all aspects of your game. And, I worked for a guy, Josh, Hal Nunley. He used to say, not everybody's ship comes into port at the same time. But when it comes in, it comes in. And that's what I keep telling Freddie. Hey, now it's your time. Let's go. Let's continue to mature and keep working. I like his approach. I like how he's been a great teammate with the new guys. Let's take the next step here as a player, and a lot's going to be on his shoulders, but I know he wants it.
I love that.
And Coach, to continue with the theme of your backcourt, I mean, you've got a ton of freshmen coming in, but I think the one that has kind of most popped in terms of like the national scale, at least to this point, obviously we haven't played games yet though, is freshman Caden Mingo. I mean, he's a guy that we're looking at that could be like freshman of the year in the Big Ten. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He can do a lot with it. What are your expectations for him, and how do you think he can grow and maybe even be one of the next Penn State players?
Michael, in my 30 years, he's one of the most impressive young freshmen I've ever been around. And in all areas of him as a young man, on and off the court, the type of teammate he is, the type of leader he is, how he plays, how he competes, how he puts the work in, his decision-making on and off the court. It's like refreshing. I tell my son Chase is a point guard here at State College High School. He's a sophomore. And I said that you need to watch that guy 24/7, the way he handles himself, the way he goes about it. He's a basketball player, but he's a high level young man. So I've been super impressed with him. It's refreshing. He wants me to coach him hard. I mean, he walked up to me in the middle of the summer and said, "Coach, get all over me like you did yesterday. Coach me really hard. I want that. I need that." Not a lot of guys want that. A lot of guys want excuses or leave me alone, let me do my thing. He's the other way around. He's a great teammate. He cares about his teammates. He's an impressive young man. We're expecting a lot from him from day one, but he's a freshman. He's going to go through some growing pains, but I told him I got his back. We're going to go through it together, and he's going to play as many minutes as he can as a freshman out there, and he's going to have some days of great joy, and he's going to have some tough days that you're thrown in the fire and you burn, but we're going to go through it together. But there's going to be a lot of kids want to play with Caden Mingo. He is a constant, a point guard that you want to play with, you want to be around, and he brings great joy to the gym every day. So, and he's got an edge about winning and wanting to compete. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's a very talented young man, and he's only getting better and better.
We joked that when you came on with us last year, it was like 3 or 4 days later is when the announcement came that Mingo had committed to Penn State. So we made the running joke. We used to tell Coach Bear all the time, like, Coach Rhoades has got to see us as good luck now, right?
I love it. Well,
he gets the school's highest ranked recruit ever.
Well, I know who I want, so I know who the next guy is. So I hope you're right. I'll get on with you guys every day. Then let's figure it out. So
we'll be looking for an announcement soon. Then
I love it.
Coach, we appreciate the time. I want to ask you one last thing here. Sure. You mentioned at the beginning of our interview here with you about you guys being probably one of, if not the youngest team in Power 4 college basketball. And the reason I bring that up is because we are doing our Big Ten predictions and previews on this episode. And when we look at the roster of the Big Ten, as a matter of fact, trying to find our candidates for freshman of the year was really hard, because when you're looking at people who could win it, there's only a couple guys, because everybody is so senior, junior laden, upperclassmen laden throughout the Big Ten. Talk about some of the challenges that will present in a league that's projected by National Us as well to be very good, very competitive through especially the middle of the conference. The youth takes time, and you're in a league that is really talented and really old.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I had to do this year to build our team. It is what it is. Everybody knows me. I'm not making one excuse. We're going to get after it. We're going to play a certain way. I think our style allows us a chance every night, and we're just going to have to do it with younger guys and inexperienced guys until they get through the ringer a few times. But I've been through this before. You set your standards and you set your culture, and I really think this team will have some days where they're growing pains, because we're going to be so young and we're playing it against older teams. But I also think we'll have a night where you'll be like, whoa, I can see why Coach is excited about his team. And I think I I've really enjoyed coaching these guys and what they're already about. But there's a lot of unknowns. And so, everybody bought a team. I didn't. We built a team. It's just how it goes right now. But I do really like the group I have and the pieces. Meli Tunka, a freshman guard, Caden, Mason, Blackwood, who I'm really excited about. And then we got some, Ivan is a big guy that's a 7-footer from Croatia that I think is going to be a really good player in due time in the Big Ten. And they're all freshmen right there I'm talking about. And it's really hard. You saw freshmen in the league last year who were lottery picks struggle at times. It's hard when you're playing against bigger, badder guys. But that's where we're at right now. What I am excited about is how much better we can get from now until we get to January and February. And I really believe that there's going to be a lot of teams when we get to that point aren't going to like to play against us. I really do. Was it going to be hard and difficult, Josh? Yeah, heck yeah. But that's the fun of it too. I know what I signed up for at Penn State a couple of years ago. A lot of this isn't happening overnight. The landscape has changed tremendously. And some of the things people are doing, it is what it is. There's a way we're going to do it. And if it takes a little bit longer than others, so be it. But I know we're going to do it the right way. I love the character of our team. I love the bond of our team. We're just going to be young and inexperienced until we get forged in that fire. But that's the fun of it. So we're not going to back down. And we're, there's going to be some things up our sleeves as we go through the year. But I do think come January and February, there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't going to want to play us.
Yeah, Coach. I've always heard this about, especially freshmen. They're young enough to not know they should be scared, meaning they go into some of these environments like a Purdue at Mackey Arena or Assembly Hall. Maybe a person's been around the block, knows what they're getting themselves into. A freshman doesn't know, so they can go play free. It sometimes works to the advantage. Coach, we appreciate you. You know how we feel about you. You know how we feel about you. I hope December 9th you guys head to Assembly Hall again, right down the road from me. Hopefully I can be there in attendance again.
We'd love to see you, man. We'd love to see you. I appreciate all you guys, Michael and Josh, what you guys do for college basketball and for all these kids. And keep fighting a good fight, man. It's great stuff. I love watching it. I get a lot out of it and all that stuff. So don't stop. Keep going, man.
Thank you very much. You.
All right,
Coach,
guys.
best of luck this season. We'll catch you down the road, Coach.
You got it. See you then.
Thank you very much.
That was Penn State head men's basketball coach Mike Rhoades, a world-class dude, a world-class coach. And yeah, like he's right, Michael. Like they're young and they're going to build a certain way and they're going to maybe struggle at times. But I have no doubt that he's the right man for that job. You just look at his track record at VCU. Look what he's already done in spurts here at Penn State. It may take a little longer, but he's going to get Penn State to where they need to be.
Yeah, it might take some time. And especially it's tough sending a guy to the first round, right? As coach, you heard him. Like, he was very clearly happy about it. And it's hard not to be, right? A guy's living his dream. And not only that, to be a first-round pick means you get guaranteed money. That's a big difference than a second-round pick, First-round pick means you get a couple years guaranteed. So, yeah, it's hard not to, on that hand, be, super happy for the guy. And that's definitely the larger part of coach, obviously. But the little part, it's like, damn, man, we could have been really good this year. This could have been our year. And instead it's like, okay, we got to do whatever we can to get better every day. And maybe hit a couple big shots late in close games. Maybe your record changes a couple wins. Maybe you could see yourself in tournament contention come February.
Without giving away just yet, if Niederhauser were to have came back and you put him with Mingo, DeLeon, and some of the dudes they've got, I think it jumps Penn State 3 or 4 spots in my standings.
I would go,
without a player like that. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into what we're going to talk about today. It's our Big Ten preview show, predictions, breakdown. We'll start from the bottom, work our way to the top if that's how you want to do it. We won't spend a ton of time on some of these bottom teams, and you'll find out why here in just a second. Michael, both of us, we have basically the same 16 through 18 here. 18 being Rutgers, 17 Minnesota, and 16 Penn State. And I know it sounds blasphemous because we just had Coach on, and he's really excited, as he should be. But if we're talking, and we got to be fair, and I know Coach would want us to be fair based on our own predictions right now. Love Mingo, love DeLeon. It will take time for those freshmen. That's why, in my opinion, they are so low at 16th. Doesn't mean that that's where they'll finish, and they can't finish like 10th or 8th or whatever. Absolutely not. It's just going off feel. The guards will be really good. The front court scares the hell out of me until we see it.
That's the thing. We haven't seen it yet, right? We just haven't seen it. So we're ranking on what we do not know. We're going to use what we do know to prove that. And we know a lot about some of these other teams. We know, I mean, I don't want to spoil our rankings too much, but like even Northwestern, we know what Nick Martinelli is. We know KJ Winham can take that step. I've seen Jaden Reed play at a high level that we've yet to see Caden Mingo. Maybe he's just better than all these guys and he really impresses. Maybe Freddie DeLeon has taken that step. Like, believe it or not, our rankings are not going to be 100% correct.
Yeah.
We're going to get proven wrong by someone. That's going to happen. It could be Penn State. Maybe it's Minnesota with Coach Nico Medved taking that job. I mean, he won at Colorado State, that team last year. I mean, they were a pretty weird, like, I wouldn't even want to say fluky, but like kind of fluky shot from Derek Queen away from being in a Sweet 16. Like, they were right there. So there's a lot like that. Many things can change. There are definitely teams that go from maybe not in an 18-team league, maybe not worst to first, but like 17th to like being in contention for a tournament spot. And if Mingo can take him that far, if Juric, who Coach was talking about from Croatia, is a guy that like maybe we look at and it's like, okay, I haven't watched him enough. Now that I see him against American competition, he's ready. You know, that definitely can be a thing, but we just have yet to see it. And as a result of that, I can't rank him too highly.
No, I completely agree. Rutgers, again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on some of these teams. Rutgers, we have unanimous 18th. You look at this roster, especially compared to last year where they have 2 lottery picks, 2 top 10 guys in Dylan Harper and thank you, Bailey. And they didn't make the tournament, didn't even sniff the NCAA tournament. You have to only presumably get worse from that. They bring in Haroon Zerno, 6'7", 220-pound freshman. He'll give them some shooting, kind of that European style. I think he's from Croatia as well. They bring over by fall original and Arkansas commit with, I think, a high-level 4-star, 5-star from a few years ago. He's never seen the potential that he saw on the AAU circuit when he got that highly touted ranking. But maybe over there at Rutgers, you'll see him block shots, make shots or whatever. But this roster, no offense to any Rutgers people, this roster, when you compare it to the rest of the Big Ten, I think they're in for some long, long winter nights for Rutgers.
Yeah, I am a pretty outspoken Steve Peichel guy. I really was, particularly with those Ron Harper, Geo Baker teams. Like those teams really like overperformed. You know, I really liked watching those teams. That was a ton of fun, and the rack was really popping off. But I mean, just looking at this roster in particular, it's Jamichael Davis, who is, I mean, he's a fine guard, but he can't really shoot. Like I think for his career, he's like a 57% free throw shooter, and that's probably your starting point guard. Haroon Zerno at the 2. He was a guy that I know of, at least just because I know a lot of teams were recruiting him. And then as the offseason got on, teams just kind of backed off him. At one point, he was committed to Villanova, and Villanova just said, no, like we're good. So, you know, his recruitment like took a step back, and now he's potentially being a leading scorer for these guys. Darren Buchanan was a guy at GW. That GW team was pretty good last year, but they got better as the season went on. That's also, you know, he wasn't starting on that team when GW got better. Talented player, sure, but like there were some other things that was like it wasn't surprising to anyone that he got off the court, and I don't think GW was too angry at losing him. And then these front court guys aren't really proven at any level. I'm just trying to be as respectful as I can because I really like Peichel, and I those Rutgers teams, and they were good, they were really fun, but I am not optimistic on this roster whatsoever. If this was an A10 team, again, just trying to be honest and respectful in that way, I wouldn't have him in the middle. I'd have him in the middle of the A10 at best. I'm sorry, but I think this roster is just not good.
No, look, and I'm with you. And then it brings us unanimous for us as well. 17th, Minnesota, man, it's been a while since the Golden Gophers have been good. We do like Nico Medved, as you mentioned. He did really tremendous work over there at Colorado State in a very competitive league, as we know, over in the Mountain West. But I just think year one in a very competitive, arguably could be the best conference in college basketball. They're going to be in the mix for it. The roster, again, without seeing these guys, we know Nico, he can coach. He can win games. But it's a much stiffer level of competition night in and night out. And you bring a guy, for instance, Cade Tyson over, who really struggled at North Carolina. Like, he got brought in to North Carolina to be a three-point shooter like he was at Belmont, and he was just off the mark. I think by the end of the year, he was, down to like 6-7 minutes a game?
Yeah. Over
at North Carolina. He's projected, but he's going to be in a battle at that small forward, 3-guard role between him and Bobby Durkin, who obviously the transfer they brought over. If he can get Tyson back to his Belmont form, then you're talking about a 40% three-point shooter, which clearly helps. But I think year one roster, it's going to take Coach Medved year two to get a full recruiting cycle in and get his type of players in. I think it's going to be a big learning curve this year. That's why we have Minnesota 17th.
Yeah, there are a couple of pieces on that roster I look at and want to see them. Cade Tyson's one of them. I think he's going to be a lot better than he was at North Carolina, personally. I still think the talent's there. He was a guy everybody wanted and just didn't fit that North Carolina roster whatsoever. I think he'll be better here. I think he fits Medved's system pretty well. They'll use him off ball screens and really get him moving and show off more of his game than he was able to at North Carolina, who just kind of had those guards kind of do everything. I think he'll be better here. And Chancey Wills is another guy I kind of like. From Western Michigan last year. I believe he was a Michigan Mr. Basketball at one point, but went to JUCO, then went to Western Michigan, averaged 17 points a game, granted on an awful team. But he's a guy that I think has some talent that I think can show it. But yeah, you mentioned it. Just again, year one roster. And I imagine some of the guys he expected to bring over, Coach Medved, that being. One of them would be, he transferred to North Carolina, and it was whoa. Keon Evans.
Oh,
he was one of the second or third guard on that Colorado State team. It's he was going to be kind of that bridge player and kind of give you some respectability immediately, but also be enough to know okay, he can help while the next guy comes in, develops and all that. And North Carolina has just decided he was going to be their starting point guard. They just they're this is our guy. We're not going to lose him. And from that perspective, it's just I didn't see that coming, and I don't know why North Carolina took him, but also I think that definitely hurts Minnesota because he was a guy you were probably expecting to be one of the centerpieces of this rebuild. So, yeah, there are a couple pieces on this roster that I'm okay, I could see how those guys work. Cade Tyson, Chancey Wills, Jalen Carter-Johnson, BJ Omot, but need to see it first. Yeah, so again, same thing, not particularly optimistic with this team, but I think it'll take some time.
And then we have unanimous, as we mentioned, 16th Penn State. Again, Coach, we kind of laid it out. He's very excited about his team, understands there's going to be some bumps in the road because how young they are. But I do love their backcourt, their starting backcourt. We got to see kind of what the bench rotation looks like when they get on the floor. But we trust Coach. But 16th, I think, is fair right now with all the unknowns and how young they are. So this is where I think we start to differ a little bit. So 15th for me is Northwestern. Who do you have for 15th?
Yeah, I have Northwestern higher. I have Nebraska at 15.
Okay, so I have Nebraska 14.
Okay.
So I have Nebraska 14. So we can talk about, since I have Nebraska 14th and Northwestern 15th. Just real quick, Northwestern. KJ Wyndham, as you mentioned, we've seen his potential, what he's capable of doing. He should be in their starting point guard role this year. Nick Martinelli as well. But when I look at this roster, when Northwestern and Chris Collins has made the NCAA tournament and really challenged in the Big Ten, they've got their go-to guy. They've got that dude who will go and drop 40 in a low-scoring, low-possession game, but will make big shot after big shot. I don't see that this year with this roster. And again, I do think the league from top to bottom, especially in the middle of that kind of meat grinder, is very competitive. I think they're just going to be kind of an average, below average team this year, if I'm just being totally honest. I don't see anybody outside of Wyndham, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, presumably, that'll make that big of a difference for Northwestern. I have them 15th, but again, they come out and let's say they start busting a bunch of threes. They're shooting 39% from the floor, from the 3-point line as a team. Then they go from 15th and you look up and they're 8th in the league. So it's kind of where we're at. But I just think this Northwestern team is kind of blah right now.
I have Northwestern at 13. They're a team that, truth be told, I want to rank higher. That probably the more I sit with this, I'm probably just going to keep bumping them up to maybe around like a 10th spot, just because we'll talk about some of these other teams, but probably by the end of the episode, I'll have Northwestern higher. Just because Nick Martinelli, I mean, he averaged 20.5 points a game last year, right? You were saying who's the go-to scorer? It's him. 20.5 points a game. He's coming back for another year. That's presumably, maybe he gets a little more efficient. Maybe he doesn't average as much because there's some other guys around him, but also maybe he just does, you know? He was very good for them last year. KJ Wyndham is going to get better as a sophomore. Like he showed flashes last year, and I think he can progress and take another leap. He was a guy that they really liked last year, and I think it's going to prove to himself that he is that guy. Jaden Reed is a guy I really liked from South Florida. Really quick. And he showed a lot as a freshman. And then last year at South Florida, you have, I mean, the passing of Coach Abdur-Rahim. It's a completely different system. It's really hard to play under that. That makes a ton of sense that he took a slight step back. His numbers weren't great. He wasn't efficient, but I still trust my eye test on him. He's a tough New York City style point guard. Very quick. He's got skill. He's a guy I like that I think he can be effective in the Big Ten. I think his numbers can be a lot better than they were last year. Like you look at the variables at play, you look at everything that happened. He was also called upon to do a lot because they lost some guys after Coach Rahim unfortunately passed away. Like it makes a lot of sense that he took a step back. I think he's much better than he showed last year. I think he's going to show that with Chris Collins, who's been he's done a really good job at elevating talent. Some of the in-between pieces I'm a little questionable on. Arrington Page is a guy that really hasn't found his footing yet. So the front court definitely gives me a little bit of questions, and some of like the guys at 3, I don't know who they're going to be with. Is it Max Green? What has he shown? How can he be that guy? But another guy I've heard some buzz with, and it's definitely partial to the fact that he is local, and I was following local recruiting in Indianapolis a bit. Trey Singleton. They really like Trey Singleton. I've heard some buzz with him that he's a guy that maybe could step up. I mean, he's not going to start over Martinelli, but maybe he plays a lot next to him. Maybe he shows that he's worthy of more minutes and is going to take a step forward as we progress going in the season. They're a team that the more I talk about it, the more I want to rank them higher because I think I like how this roster fits together. But yeah, we're going to talk about some teams going forward that I think Northwestern will probably beat at least once, maybe twice, but that just also have more talent that can win some of these other games that maybe Northwestern can't. So I have them 13 for now. The more I think about it, the more I want to bump them up, but I see the argument for having them lower.
So who did you say you had 15th?
That was where I have Nebraska.
Okay, so let's talk Nebraska. Since I have them 14th, it'd be a perfect time to combine them. Nebraska, 21-game winner last year, missed NCAA tournament. They did win. What was it? Did they win the NIT last year? Or
they win the crown? I think they won the crown.
The crown. That's what it was. Yeah, the crown. A weird year. Starts 12-2 last year with wins over UCLA, Indiana. They beat Creighton away from home in that big time game, the rivalry there in state. And then they lost 5 in a row, then win a couple, then in the regular season, lost 6 of their last 7 there. They lose Bryce Williams. They lose Juwan Gary. Connor Essegian, remember, came out of Wisconsin, was from the state of Indiana, went to Wisconsin, didn't really find his footing like maybe people thought he would. Showed glimpses of it. Transfers in Nebraska last year. Shot 37.7% from the 3-point line. Made 78 threes. He's projected, according to Burner Ball there on their depth chart, to come off the bench because they bring in transfers. Kendall Blue, Jamarcus Lawrence, Price Sandford. But they also bring back, and I hate pronouncing this name, Bert Buyuktinsel.
I got you. Berke Buyuktinsel.
Okay, cool. It's a Turkish name, so I appreciate that. They do bring him back, though. 6'10", junior. Not really a three-point threat. He made 23 of them last year, but he will give them size on the interior there. And if I want to see how the injury plays, because what makes Nebraska intriguing to me, should he return from injury at some point fully healthy, is Rick Max. I know Burner Ball has him here listed as the starting center again, but you're talking about a dude a couple of years ago that was one of the better interior players in the Big Ten, a double-double threat every single night. that really could step out in the perimeter and run some of their offense as far as pass the ball, screening away, slipping screens, get to the rim, offensive rebounds. If he comes back at some point, let's say by conference play, fully healthy, I do think that adds something to Nebraska. Maybe it adds like 2 or 3 extra wins, which could be the difference in finishing where I have them 14th and maybe finishing like 9th, which puts them in NCAA tournament contention. I think a healthy, eventually, Brink Mass can completely change my perception of Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, it's part of it is I need to see him after the recovery, make sure he's recovered, make sure he's the same guy as he was before, because sometimes we just see knee injuries, especially to bigs, and it's just like they're a completely different guy, and it kind of sucks. So I need to make sure he still is that guy. But yeah, you mentioned Connor Segan. He was the guy I was going to talk about because I expect him to start. Jamarcus Lawrence was the guy who averaged, I think, like 9-10 points a game at Rhode Island on a pretty bad Rhode Island team. I'd be pretty surprised if Segan isn't starting.
I agree. I think Segan starts.
I do too, yeah. And then Kendall Blue was a guy who was pretty good at St. Thomas, but I don't know if I see him as a true point guard. That's a hole on this team that I see. And Bryce Williams kind of masked a lot of those problems. And then you had Casey Tominaga, who was also able to run the offense and score. I don't know if Kendall Blue is going to be able to do that. 6'6". He's coming from the Summit League. That's a league that we've seen some guys kind of struggle with coming to the higher level. Even it took Grant Nelson some time, and he was a guy that we all thought was the white Giannis for a little bit after that mixtape went viral. So from that perspective, I just have some questions here. And Price Sanford, I don't know if he's going to be that same guy as he was. I feel like the last couple of years I've predicted, Nebraska and who's the coach? I cannot believe it. His name's Fred Hoiberg.
Fred Hoiberg.
That is embarrassing. I believe I've predicted Fred Hoiberg's teams to finish lower than they have the last like 3 or 4 years. So I believe I've gotten this team wrong quite a bit. But this is another group. It's just, I don't know the health of Rink Mass. That's a huge question. I don't know how these guards are going to translate. Like I'm kind of skeptical on some of them. These are guys that just my evaluation wouldn't have been the same that Nebraska likely views them as. And I expect Sejan to be playing a bigger role of that. I do have some questions here, but I do see the case for optimism. It's Mast. He was awesome. And hopefully you can get that ideal version out of Biuktin. We haven't seen it yet, but like he's also a guy that like he's tall, he can dribble the ball, he can shoot it.
Yeah.
Like if you like controlled him on 2K, you'd be like, oh, this guy's amazing. But yeah,
but he doesn't really shoot it though. It's not efficient. He
really?
20. No. What I say?
You said 23 threes last
27%. Yeah, he made 23 of 83 attempts. Is that really considered a shooter? Especially in today's age of 5-out basketball, and you have 4 men who can shoot 41%. I mean, I want to see it. Like I understand there's the ability that if he picks and pops, he swing it back to him. Can he make an open one? Yeah, but is that how you want your offense running? That's why I think Mass is so important, being fully healthy, because he can step there. Not only he's not really the shooter type, but he's the initiator, and he draws so many eyeballs on the paint there that you can open up. If you play strong side with him and Sejan, where let's say Sejan feeds him in the post on the left side of the block there, they bring a double because Mass has been eating them up. Then you kick back out, you got Sejan in the corner for a wide open 3. Mm-hmm. That's the type of offense I think I would want to run that's more efficient for Nebraska, as opposed to going to Burt at the top of the key on maybe a pick and pop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, agreed.
So I had Nebraska 14. Who did you say you had 14 again?
At 14?
Yeah, 14.
This would be our big debate. Yeah, you have this team much higher. I have Ohio State at 14.
Yeah, okay. So go ahead, and I'll save where I have Ohio State here in just a minute. But, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts because I actually like this team right now.
I like the roster a decent bit. Like, if we were just purely ranking rosters, I'd have them higher, obviously. Bruce Thornton could be one of the best guards in the country. John Mobley is awesome. Yeah, like those two, like excellent. Devin Royal is solid. I'm lower on this front court than most seem to be. Is one. That'd be my first point. Brendan Knoll transfers over. I believe, if I remember correctly, he is from a Wright State. Yes, Wright State.
I covered him in the magazine the last 2 years. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Very good. Very good offensive player. Very talented. But coming from the Horizon League to the Big Ten, it's a huge, huge difference, especially in the front court and especially defensively. That's going to be a huge adjustment because those Wright State teams, they did not play a lot of defense. I can tell you that much. They didn't play any defense, frankly. So that would be one area of like, okay. And then the other guy they bring in is Christoph Tilley from Santa Clara. Again, good, very skilled player. But another area that I think he's going to struggle with is, one, a lot of his numbers came when he was playing next to Adama All-Football. Adama Ball was awesome. You can talk more about Brandon Knoll and how good he is. He's not as good as Adama Ball. He's not. And Adama Ball also has a lot of things on the glass. He was such a great rebounder that I don't know if Noel's going to be that same level of rebounder. And two, you're not going to have the ball as much as you were, which kind of was one of the things that made them these guys effective at that level. Bruce Thornton's going to be taking a lot of shots because you want to know why? Because he deserves to be taking a lot of shots because he's a dog. He's going to make a lot of those shots, but you're not going to have the ball. It's going to make you less effective, and you got to do these little things. You got to be a good defender. You got to be a good rebounder, and I don't think these guys fit that. I don't think at all. So I kind of don't trust the way this roster fits. I don't think these guys are high level defensively. And the next part of it would be just straight up. Again, I don't mean to be too disrespectful, but I think they have the worst coach in this league, and I think they have the worst coach in this league by a decent margin. I don't trust Jake Diebler. And look, his brother is on the coaching staff of my Butler Bulldogs, so I don't want to sound too negative and be much of an asshole, even though by saying that you sound like an asshole 100% of the time. There's no way to say it without being an asshole. But I just straight up, I don't trust him to lead a team that I think is going to finish in the top half of the league. And then you look at some of the other coaches of teams I have higher in this league. Greg Gard's proven. DeVries, that team was robbed of the tournament last year. Musselman's been there, done that. Ben McCall, been there, done that. Buzz Williams, been there, done that. Tom Izzo, been there, done that. Danny Sprinkle was the coaching hire after Utah State. Then you look at, Dana Altman, been there, done that. Brad Underwood, Mick Cronin. These are guys that have made decent runs in the tournament. And then Dusty May proved to all of us last year, excellent coach. And then Matt Painter might be one of the best 3 to 5 coaches in the country. Versus you got Jake Diebler, to me, a guy that I don't think belongs in the same tier as a lot of those guys, that these are the guys we're comparing his roster to. When it comes down to it, games get close and coaching really matters. I'm taking those guys over Jake Diebler a lot. And I don't like the way this roster fits in terms of team building, and I don't trust the coach. So I think 14 is the lowest you could possibly have them in my mind, but I don't see myself moving off of it.
I agree. I don't agree, of course, but yeah. I understand, especially the coaching factor. I think Diebler did get hot when he had the interim position and got hot, and then that kind of carried him, but he really struggled last year. We'll talk about Ohio State in just a minute. So at 13, I have Iowa, and I just want to talk about Iowa just real quick because we got to move on. I have them this low for one reason. I like Ben McCollum. We saw what he was able to do at the D2 level for all those years, winning national championships. We saw last year at Drake, one of the best teams in the country, not just in mid-major college basketball, the best team in the country, one of them. What a 30-plus game winner last year with Drake. Bennett Sturtz, his all-star point guard, follows him to Iowa, gives them an advantage immediately because they have one of the best point guards in college basketball. He brings Brendan Housen in from Villanova. Alvaro Folgeras comes in from Robert Morris, one of the better underappreciated big men in the country last year at Robert Morris on a team that made the NCAA tournament and won their league. Kentucky and all these other high-level teams. One name he follows Ben McCollum, not follows, but he goes to Iowa with Ben McCollum. So they've got 3 very good players in the projected starting lineup to begin with that we all like, that will play the style Ben McCollum likes, which is, they'll grind it out in the half court. They'll a lot of spread modern offense. They don't mind shooting the 3, but a lot of pass cuts, backdoor cuts. They're not going to play a high tempo per se, but when the opportunity presents itself, they'll run. It's not the starting 5. I think they have a starting 5 that can compete in this league. Their roster is still, as of now, on September 19th, is incomplete. They don't have a complete roster according to at least the Burner Ball depth charts here. And so depth worries me because Bennett Sturtz can't play 40 minutes a game, every single game. It's just not healthy. Neither can Brendan Housen, neither can Alvaro Folgeras. So I love those 3 players, but lack of depth in a conference that needs depth because how physical it is with every night is a battle inside the Big Ten. I love Bennett Sturtz. Think Brendan Housen can really stretch the floor for him. Folgeras with his ability to play kind of that modern European style big where he'll step out and hit some threes. He can initiate offense and allow Sturtz to play off ball even. I just don't know if there's enough there to like, but I will say this. I think Ben McCollum gets Iowa back on the national map in the next couple of years. I just don't think it's going to be year one. I have Iowa 13th.
Do you want my rebuttal now, or do you want it later when I have them?
Whenever.
All right, we'll do it now. I have Iowa 9th. I think part of what you mentioned is definitely fair. But one, I think Bennett Sturts could be a lottery pick, and it's kind of hard to have a lottery pick that low. I wanted to put him higher, but I see your point with one, injuries. Like, that's always going to be a factor, right? You're going to have guys miss games, and two, the physical nature of the Big Ten maybe might yield for needing more depth than you did in the Missouri Valley. But on the other hand, they play a really slow pace, and they're going to control that pace because Bennett Sturts is going to control that. And as a result of that, you can probably play less guys and not need as much depth as you might need in other situations. And two, depth, I think, is a double-edged sword, because on one hand, having more depth when injuries happen, when these things happen, means you have a guy that can step up and replace that production almost to the exact same level, and they fit together. But on the other hand, in, let's say, a locker room like Kentucky, right? Because how many talented guys are at Kentucky? Just, you're a Kentucky guy.
13, to be completely honest, 13.
13 very talented guys. Those guys want to play over each other, right? They're competitive. They don't want to sit on the bench for 15 minutes. They don't want to sit on the bench for 25 minutes. They don't want to sit on the bench for 28 minutes. They don't want to do that. That's not in their nature. So as a result of that, guys might get angry at each other. It's the battle of a coach to balance that. And most coaches are able to do it. But in some cases, this guy just wants to play, and he's going to leave, and he's going to be angry, and it's going to bring the team chemistry and all that stuff down. And a team like Iowa, straight up, these guys know their role. You know your role. Bennett Sturts is the star. Fulgaris is a big piece. Brennan Housen's coming over from Kansas State last year. Villanova before that, as you mentioned.
That's right. I forgot he was at K-State last year. That's right.
You good. Yeah, but he's coming in. He knows he's going to be a shooter off the ball. Defense, definitely worried with his team. Don't get me wrong, especially with Kim Manayo at the inside. He's only 6'8", 6'9", 6'7", Tavion Banks.
Athleticism, too. I worry about the athleticism in a league.
But if you're able to control the pace, I think you can control that. But it is physical nature. It is going to be harder in the Big Ten. Maybe there is an adjustment there. I definitely can see that. But, man, I'm so high on Bennett Sturts.
So am I. I like Bennett Sturts a lot. And the other thing, too, though, we want to hit all angles, controlling the tempo. I mean, Drake last year, for instance, 364 in adjusted tempo. 364, almost dead last. And, actually, what is it? Dead last in college basketball?
I believe so.
Dead last in tempo. So they want to burn the clock, baby. So you do have a good point there. But what made them special is they shot 35% from three. Here's the flip side to that. If you burn that much clock and you miss shots and you're not big enough or athletic enough to go get offensive rebounds, what does that mean for other teams, especially long misses? And you're not the most athletic or depth-ridden team. This is where I think could get them in trouble if they're not making their outside shots or making shots at the rim or get to the foul line. If they start missing and burning clock, now you're looking at potential trouble city. So I just think give McCollum year 2, and he's going to build a very, very competitive team at Iowa. I think this team will be competitive this year, but I have them 13th because I think there's at least 12 teams that I trust as of now more than now. But it doesn't mean I don't like their pieces. I know it's kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth there.
See, Josh, here's the last point I'll make on this. You said when they miss shots. Bennett Sturts doesn't miss. Every single time it looks like it's going in. So.
Okay. Fair point. I had Iowa 13th. You said you had them 9th. Who did you have 13th?
At 13, that is where I have Northwestern.
Okay, same. We already – okay.
Yeah, we already talked about them.
Okay, so 12, and I'll say this real quick. This is the last spot I have for sure. I don't think it is an NCAA tournament discussion team. This is how deep this league is, in my opinion. 12, I have Wisconsin. And I'll make it short and sweet on Wisconsin. This is where when you put them 12th, is where they'll surprise you. Like they did last year. They came out of nowhere. We kind of had them projected middle of the pack, and they were towards the damn near top of the league for most of the year. Greg Gard is a phenomenal head coach. They bring in Nick Boyd. John Blackwell is back as a scorer, I guess, can scorer be. Andrew Rhoades comes over. They bring over some really interesting transfers. But again, I don't think the overall depth is there. I think their options to score between Boyd, Blackwell, and Rhoades make an interesting threesome. But I just don't know if they have the amount of shooting needed outside of Blackwell. I know Boyd can make it, so don't jump my ass about that. But last year's team was special because it was 2 or 3 guys on any given night, as we've seen in a lot of their big wins, that would step up and give you 25. I don't know if they possess that same type of ability this year that they had last year where they won 27 games, ultimately lost to BYU in a very competitive round of 32 game. No John Tonji, who is their absolute superstar. No Stephen Crowell. No Max Klesmit, who would knock down 7 threes and a half on certain nights. Love John Blackwell being back. Love the addition of Nick Boyd. That's about it, and it's where it ends for Wisconsin for me.
Yeah, you and I are pretty much on the same page. I had Wisconsin 12 as well. The exact same reasons. The 2 points I'd fire back on. One, I think Northwestern can make an NCAA tournament. So for me, it's 13 and up can make it. Obviously, will they? 13 teams are not making it from this league, but I think those teams can. They're in that conversation that if one of those close games goes right, you can make the tournament. But two, you mentioned it for me in Northwestern. You pretty much covered it all. I like Nick Boyd. He was on a good San Diego State team last year. I think he can translate. John Blackwell's awesome. The front court, really 3 to 5 is where I have questions. Andrew Rhoades was not great at Virginia. You're going to expect more from him, I'm not sure. Austin Rapp, definitely a kid with a ton of potential, but definitely struggled when games got more physical at Portland. And I don't think he's particularly quick. I don't think he's big-bodied. He has a decent jump shot, but how's that going to translate to Big Ten play? And the Nolan Winter, I think, is fine. This is a team that I think you're going to lose a lot with John Tonji, not just in terms of his ability to get buckets whenever you need it, but just the fact that he kind of opened up a lot for your offense. He was so unselfish, and when you needed him to, he'd be able to get to the line, slow a game down, kind of calm everything down. I don't think they have that guy. Can Rhoades be better here than he was at Virginia? Sure, but I don't think he's nearly on that level. I like the two guards. Boyd, Blackwell is a backcourt that's going to give a lot of teams problems. But on the other spots going down the roster, I'm not nearly as optimistic. And maybe they prove me wrong, but yeah, I don't see it for the time being.
So here's what I'll do. I'll group these together so we can speed this along a little bit. I think 9 through 11 are my bubble teams, meaning that they could be NCAA tournament teams, could be on the wrong side of it, but they're going to be in contention come Selection Sunday. 11 USC, 10 Washington, 9 Indiana. I think they're all very quality teams that have big upside, but also have a lower floor if things kind of bottom out. I think they'll be in contention. I don't want to go as far as say they're NCAA tournament teams yet, but I think come Selection Sunday, they're going to be there with a chance to have their name called. I'll just speak real quick on USC at 11. Eric Musselman, again, hits the transfer portal very, very hard. He's done that since his days at Arkansas. They bring over Jordan Marsh, the presumed run point guard. Rodney Rice comes in from Maryland. Chad Baker-Mazara, in kind of a shock move in year 7 of college basketball. Had a great role with Auburn. I guess looking for something new. Will be a star out there in LA for USC. Ezra Alzar, Jacob Colfeet, their whole starting five is projected to be from the transfer portal. We know what Rodney Rice, long, athletic, can really get going when he was playing at Maryland last year. Chad Baker-Mazara, a two-way defender, wing scorer, uber shit talker. I like what USC has potential. Can all the pieces fit, and can they have enough consistent shot making? Because as many plays as Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara make, they're not the most consistent, especially CBM with his attitude at times can really take you out of a game if he's not mentally locked in. So it kind of worries me there, but the potential for USC to be an NCAA tournament team that can really compete in the Big Ten is there this year in year 2 for Eric Musselman. Washington, I think, is the most intriguing team in the Big Ten. I know you have them higher. Danny Sprinkle coming over from Utah State, year 2 with him. Year 1 went very rough. I think they finished dead last in the league last year. Wesley Yates, who a lot of teams like Kentucky and others wanted because his ability to really stretch the floor and shoot the basketball. He comes in as a 3-point sniper. Desmond Claude comes over from Xavier. Hans Steinbach, the 6'11 freshman that people are raving about. Jacob Ognosovich, our dude from Lipscomb, thank you, with Coach Lenny down there. We know how good he is. How good is Brandon Roy Jr.? Is he anything like his pops was? Now, I know not exactly his pops is bigger. His pops was a legend at UW. His pops was a legend for the Portland Trailblazers. It's not totally fair. But if that translates at all, you're talking about a young kid as a freshman that could give you high-quality minutes off the bench eventually. That's exciting. I just think Danny Sprinkle's a hell of a head coach. This team has a lot of experience, a lot of shooting, and a lot of potential. When you bring Jacob Ognosovich off your bench as a potential 6th man or 7th man to fill in for Hans Steinbach or Frank Hepnag, you got a pretty good and pretty deep team. I didn't mention Bryce Tucker transferring in. I really like this team, and maybe I've got them too low. Maybe I'm the fool, but it's a kind of another wait and see a moment from them. But I really like Washington, and then Indiana for our Hoosier folks. I have them nice. Year one with Darian DeVries, whole new team. There is not one holdover from the Mike Woodson era. Tatum Connerway comes in to presumably run point. Lamar Wilkerson, one of the absolute best three-point shooters in college basketball, shot like 47% from three last year. Josiah Miles, Tucker DeVries, we know when healthy. Again, back to Drake in West Virginia. That dude can take over ball games. Reed Bailey coming in from Davidson, a stretch 6'10" dude that can step out and hit threes. Darian DeVries has a team full. His identity has always been at Drake and at West Virginia last year in his 1 year. They are going to stretch you out, play more of a modern style. He wants dudes who are versatile, who can pass, dribble, and shoot. I do think he brought in a team full of transfers that can do that. Trent Sisley, the freshman from right here in Indiana, will contribute, I think, as maybe like the 8th, 9th man. I like this team. Do I love them? I don't know yet until we see them. We got to see them a little bit in the summer. They played the exhibition games, and they struggled. They were actually down 20 in back-to-back games against professional teams before rallying and winning. But Lamar Wilkerson will stretch the floor. Reed Bailey will stretch the floor. Tucker DeVries can ISO and beat you one-on-one, get to a spot mid-range, and hit threes. There's a lot to like about Indiana, but it's kind of a wait-and-see mode. But I do think they'll be in NCAA bubble contention. I have them 9th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I have Iowa at 9. We already talked about Iowa. I have USC at 10, Indiana at 11. Indiana first because that's the team you literally just finished talking about. I mean, you see the offensive potential, right? All these guys can shoot it. They've all got size. They know how to play the position. Excellent shooters. They'll space the floor. They'll really run a good offense. You mentioned all that part. But there's another part to it. There are two sides to a basketball game, Josh. Who the hell on this team is going to get any damn stops?
I know, that's right. They're probably to zone, I would imagine, right? I mean, they can't man.
Can you run a zone with Reed Bailey at the center? I don't think you can.
Can you man, though, with him? That's the thing. Can you man? And especially if teams are daring you to switch. Like, do you want him checking a shooting guard or a point guard?
Yeah, it's just defensively, I think there are so many problems here. I don't think Tucker DeVries is a particularly great defender. Josiah Miles came from a North Florida team that played zero defense. Wilkerson and Connerway came from lower leagues and teams that, again, were also not great defensively. So you're going to need some element of, like, solid. And then Nick Dorn comes from Elon. They didn't play much defense at all last year. Sam Alexis, you're hoping, can give you good minutes because he can kind of defend around the rim. Connor Enright's kind of a pest, but he came from a DePaul team, was injured last year, so hopefully his shoulder's back in place. But yeah, I don't know how this team gets many stops. That's why I have them at 11. They're going to shoot the hell out of the ball. And maybe because they just hit more shots than other teams in a whole bunch of games, but I don't know if they're going to get a ton of stops. And then USC at 10. The talent on this one is this is the team that could make us both look very foolish.
Oh, I know. I have them 11, you have them 10, and they got so much talent.
The talent could have them as a top 5 team in this league without question, and it would just be like, duh, why didn't we see that? Why do we have them this low? But to my future self, if I have to make that argument, it was I didn't trust Eric Musselman coming into the year. And 2, team chemistry on this one could be very off because you bring in a ton of transfers.
Very volatile, right? With Rodney Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara.
Yeah. Rodney Rice wanted to play point. So I don't know if they're going to let him play point a ton, but that was kind of the reason he would have ended up saying he wanted to play point guard. That was the reason he didn't follow Coach Willard to Villanova. So, and money, obviously, money too. But Chad Baker-Mazara is a guy who's going to want the ball in his hands more. Transferring, he's going to want to be more of a star. But also you go to LA Live, you kind of want to have some fun, And then they have like 7 power forwards on the roster. I don't know how that makes it work. And also, unfortunately, we do have to mention this. The injury to Elijah Arenas. Yeah. Yep. I mean, heart problem, then it's like of all the people, he's probably had one of the worst summers. And that kid is so talented. He could have connected a lot of dots here. Thankfully, they are not thankfully, but for the team, they're practicing without him. So they're going to know how to play without him. But yeah, I have a lot of questions with Musselman lately. He hasn't been that same guy. And I don't know how the roster is going to fit together. I don't know if these guys will have that same chemistry, if they'll have chemistry problems. If Rodney Rice and Chad Baker-Mazara just want to play selfishly, I think it'll hurt the team overall. So we need to see them decide to want to put it together. So yeah, those will be the 2 teams. And then I had Iowa at 9, we've already talked about. And I'll make my Washington case later because I like that team a lot.
Well, let's get into it. So I have 8 locks out of this league. and I'll just go down 1 through 8 here. There's no surprise. We're unanimous in our top 3, so we can agree on this. This is Purdue's league to lose.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the best team in college basketball, I believe. So why wouldn't they be the best team in the Big Ten? I have Purdue 1, Michigan 2, UCLA 3. If you told me those 3 on Selection Sunday, between the 3 of them had a 1 seed and 2 2 seeds, I will not be shocked at all. Purdue being the 1, Michigan and UCLA being the potential 2 seeds, would not be shocked. So those are my top 3. 4 through 8, that's also, to me, NCAA tournament locks. I have Ohio State 4, which I know you disagree with. Oregon 5, very solid team we'll talk about. Illinois 6, one of the more intriguing teams if they could put it together. Michigan State 7, and Maryland with Buzz Williams at 8. Where do we begin? Like, go ahead and list off your 1 through 8 there, and then we'll talk about a few of these real quick.
So we have the same top 3: Purdue, Michigan, UCLA. At 4, I went with Illinois. 5, Oregon. 6 is where I have Washington. I am very high on that team. 7, Michigan State. And then 8, much like you, I have Buzz Williams and Maryland.
So let's talk about Maryland just real quick. Buzz Williams comes over to Maryland, leaves Texas A&M. It's kind of his yearly, once every 5 years, go to a new team, build them up, make them winners. And that's why I trust this team. Miles Rice comes in from Indiana. I know a tough year for the Hoosiers overall, but Miles Rice was kind of a standout. They bring in elite freshman Darius Adams. Buzz brings with him from A&M Solomon Washington and Pharrell Payne. They bring in David Coit and Raquise Passmore, a guy Raquise from Kansas. Isaiah Watts comes into the transfer. The one thing we know about Buzz Williams that makes me trust Maryland to be an NCAA tournament team and a very good team in the Big Ten is he knows how to win. Maybe not all the time in the NCAA tournament, but in league play, with his style of play, we're basically going to fist fight you for 40 minutes. He brings in 2 dudes who set that culture already with him, with Solomon Washington and Pharrell Payne. This is going to be a no-nonsense, grind it out, bring your lunch pail type of Maryland every single night. And I think they're going to clip teams at home, especially like a Michigan or a Purdue or UCLA. It's in that top 3. And you're going to have to be ready to fight them every single night. And if you don't, they're going to out-talent you and outwork you eventually down the stretch. It won't always be pretty, but I trust Buzz Williams to make a winner out of Maryland.
Yeah. It's the front court. Solomon Washington showed what he can do in a Buzz Williams team. Elijah Saunders was very good. He was one of the bright spots on that Virginia team, and he just kind of fits Buzz Williams. And Pharrell Payne, same thing. They're just going to be monsters on the glass, particularly the offensive glass, because they're going to miss a lot of shots. Miles Rice is a guy I actually like quite a bit. I liked him a lot from Wazoo. Mike Woodson, but I still think there's a very talented kid there. I think he's going to be a player and a half. So I could see him looking a lot better than he did last year. The 2 spot, David Coit, not particularly high on him. Darius Adams, I think, is one of the – again, I'm going to try to be respectful. I would not have ranked him as highly as recruiting sites have ranked him. I think they're entirely ranking him on potential and not the player he is right now, because the guy he is right now is just not an efficient basketball player. He's really got to grow into his frame, like big time. He's just going to be getting pushed around a ton at this level. Isaiah Watts, I think, can kind of play at this level as well. So I would be kind of surprised if Adams is starting over Watts, but it's the front court. They're going to be solid. They're going to play in some ugly-ass games. They're going to win a lot, 62-58. But those front court pieces are going to get a lot of rebounds. They're going to defend. They're going to do that lunch pail type stuff. And they're going to have this team solid for year 1. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not as high on this Maryland team as others seem to be. But, yeah, that front court, there's a floor built in. And I think this is around the floor. I'd be kind of surprised if they're at least not in tournament contention.
So pick a team from 4 to 8 there, since we have the same top 3 that we think are kind of separated themselves from the rest of the league. A team 4 through 8 that you just want to mention real quick. Is it Illinois? Because it's Washington. Go ahead.
Yeah, Josh talked about this team. If I get one team to mention, it's got to be this team. I love this roster. I think it's excellent. Kamari Peterson from ETSU, really quick hands, very good defensively. He's a pest. His jump shot's nice, and he knows how to run a team. Wesley Yates at the 2 averaged like 17 points a game at USC. That dude was awesome. He followed assistant coach. My goodness,
it's his cousin, his cousin or uncle or something like that.
Yes. Played in the NBA for a while. Again, he averaged like 17 points a game in this league. He can do that again. He's getting better, and he'll be more efficient on this team. The addition of Desmond Claude, kind of weird because he's a guy that needs the ball in his hands. But if you can find a way to make Desmond Claude work with this team, and maybe that might be running him at the 1 and having Peterson come off ball because he's quick, he can be an initial point attack defender, and he's a really good shooter. That if Claude's maybe a little more on the ball, Peterson's off the ball, I can really see how that works. Hannes Steinbeck was awesome in the U19 tournament. He was excellent. He can do everything. He's athletic. He's got a really pretty jump shot. He's a guy they paid a lot of money, and deservedly so. I think that kid's going to be in the league. And then at the 5 spot, you just hope you can get some solid production. Frank Kapnang, Lathan Somerville can just be solid physical bigs that can do enough. And maybe even run Steinbeck at the 5 and Ognacevic at the 4. There's a lot of lineup versatility here. Then off the bench, JJ Maniquit wasn't on the USA U19 team. He's a very, very solid point guard. That's just what he does. It might take him a little bit of time, but he's a guy that's just going to make the right winning play. That's just who he is. He's a winner at heart. I really like his game. He's not going to be a star NBA player, but he'll be a role player that'll carve out his role for a long time. I don't think he's going to be that after year 1, obviously. I think it'll take him 3-4 years. He'll be a very good college guard, then a very solid pro guard, like a TJ McConnell type, if you will, but a better jump shot. Not as quick, not as Jim Ratty, but like that kind of build. Zoom Diallo was a former 5-star recruit. Bryson Tucker, former 4-star. These are guys coming off the bench, but I think this roster has a ton of talent. I mean, yeah, I'm really high on this team. 6, I think, is fair just because they were bad last year, and you need to see Sprinkle prove it in this league, but this team is extremely talented. I'd be surprised if they're not a tournament team. Very surprised. I really like this roster quite a bit. They'll probably sneak into my top 25.
Look, and that's what I said. I have them 10th, but, like, I really like this roster. Like, that's the thing. Like, so I do think that the middle of the Big Ten from 4 to honestly maybe like 12 is kind of mixed bag in a way that you could shake them up and they come out in different order. I'll talk about Ohio State real quick before we talk about the top 3 and get to the awards and get out of here. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, I fully understand. And again, maybe I'm foolish for having them this high. Like maybe the other national people have them like 13th or something. But look, Bruce Thornton, we've seen it. We don't have to guess. We've seen it. Not just seen it. We've seen it at Ohio State in the Big Ten. That dude is just tough. He makes plays. He makes game-winning plays. John Mobley, as a freshman for most of the early part of the year, was right there with Kobe Bryant, shooting like 45% from 3. I know it dipped at the end of the year. I think he ended up with like 38%, but he is a 3-point sniper. He's kind of compact in his jump shot, but he's got legs that can get it off, and he makes threes, which is a huge help to any offense. Devin Royal, we do need to see it more consistently. Brandon Noel is what you mentioned. Covered that dude right in our magazine last couple years, was awesome for Wright State during his time. Last year, his final year at Wright State, 19 points a game, 7.7 rebounds, 35% from the three-point line, down from his junior year where he shot 40%. But you're talking about a 4-man in modern college basketball that shoots between 35 and 40% from 3, adds another layer to the offense, especially when you have bulldogs like Bruce Thornton that's able to penetrate, that can spray it out to Mobley, spray it out in a pick and pop to Brandon Noel. Not only that, but when he gets fouled, he makes his free throw shots. He shoots between 75 and 77% at the foul line, which is good for a big. I really think Brandon Noel comes in, not only starts, but contributes at a big-time level for the Buckeyes. Christoph Dilly, there's still a lot to be desired there, but he's a big, wide body to play kind of this 4-out, 1-in potential. I want to see him go more back to the basket, score more, but defensively and an anchor rebounding should give him something. Gabe Cupps is a kid that I thought a lot of. Never really showed it, but never really got the full opportunity at Indiana that I think he can deserve. If he's your 6-man coming off the bench and he plays to his AAU high school standard, the dude knows how to play with stars. He played with a loaded AAU team. He's a 3-point shot taker and maker, and he's just a smart on-ball dude. If you're talking about similar to what you mentioned about who was we were just talking about? Indiana, about they'll be able to score the ball. Can they defend? That's kind of my worry with Ohio State, but I think there's enough toughness, enough older veteran dudes, and enough 3-point shooting that Ohio State's going to be just a bitch to play. Plus, I didn't even mention Josh Ojiawuna. I know he's hurt. Fully understand that. But again, should he come back, I think he is a guy, whether he starts at center or comes off the bench, that gave Baylor good minutes. You go look before his injury, was giving Kansas 12 points and 8 rebounds and then 3 blocks. He's a rim protector in the front court. So I think there's stuff there. I don't know much about like the freshmen, Matthew Grucic, Amari Bynum. I need to see it more. But I just, there's something about Ohio State with Thornton Mobley, Royal Noel that intrigues me. And again, I'm probably foolish for putting them that high, but I do think they're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, I mean the roster has talent, like without a doubt. Like Thornton's going to be an absolute, like Thornton's amazing. He's amazing.
All right, our top 3 here. Like Illinois, we can talk about Illinois, but one of the more intriguing teams. They're the Balkan team, right? Mihailo Petrovic starting at point guard projected. Kylan Boswell, very good for them last year, especially in spurts. Can go quiet, but man, he was really good in that game against Kentucky that kept him in the round of 32. Andrei Stojakovic, I know he's hurt right now, but if he ever gets rolling, 3-point shooter, spreads the floor. David Mirkovic, Ben Hummerkaus, and then the Ivisic brothers, they're going to be a tall, lanky team that can really shoot and play the style Brad Underwood wants. This team, I think, at their peak is going to beat the hell out of a really good team like a Michigan or Purdue or whoever. You're going to look up one night and they're going to beat the hell out of them like 101-72 because all these dudes have clicked and they've made 21 3-point shots. On the flip side, I don't know if they're the toughest team in the world.
Agreed.
Because the Ivisic brothers can block shots, they run the floor, but they're pretty soft interior. Like they don't want to play physicality at all. So it may be another case like Indiana where you look up and it's all of a sudden they've scored 100, but they've given up 102.
Yeah, agreed. I think this at 4 is the highest you could have them ranked. I think they're only at this point, obviously, because we haven't seen it. They could finish better than this, but just from what we've seen, I think if you're going to rank them, I think it's 4 is the peak ceiling. Yeah, you mentioned kind of everything. I like Boswell quite a bit. I think he's going to be better than he has been the last few years, and he's been pretty solid. I think he's got a good jump shot, and I think he'll be able to set the table for some of these guys. Stojakovic hopefully is healthy. He's got a really pretty jump shot. But yeah, you mentioned it, the Ivisic brothers, a little soft, but like very talented. And then the Balkan boys, Mirkovic, Petrovic, whoever, very solid. Like I definitely guys I want to look at a little more. But yeah, they seem very solid, very skilled players. So I'm very interested in how this team works. I'm just kind of high enough on the Ivisic brothers being solid college players, Stojakovic and Boswell, plus those guys adding to it and being better than the guys they had before, I think keeps them at this level.
Let's go to team 3rd. UCLA, very, very good. They're bringing one of, if not the number 1 transfer get in college basketball this year from the portal, Donovan Dent from New Mexico.
Yep.
Wanted by every big school. UCLA ends up with him. Mick Cronin gets a gem for his starting point guard. Their starting 5, I think, could compete with anybody in the country. Donovan Dent, Sky Clark, Eric Daly Jr., Tyler Bilodeau, Xavier Booker is as good a starting 5 as you'll find, especially in this league. Their depth is where I think Michigan and Purdue have them beat at. I worry a little bit about Xavier Booker because the transfer initially didn't make sense to me because he struggled in Michigan State and Tom Izzo's system. And he transfers, which I thought would happen, but he goes to Mick Cronin, who is very similar to Tom Izzo's way of kind of old school, very tough-minded, hard style of coaching. So maybe it's just a change of scenery, and we know the talent's there. The talent's clearly there with Xavier Booker, but he's not shown it yet, but he's going to get an opportunity, it seems like, out in L.A. for a very good UCLA team. This team, bringing Eric Daly and Tyler Bilodeau back from last year, those two dudes alone saved UCLA's ass in a ton of games. A ton of games. How many game winners or big shots in the final 3 minutes did Daly and Bilodeau hit for them last year? And I thought Sky Clark finally, after stops at Louisville and Illinois, I thought Mick got the best out of Sky Clark last year.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Donovan Dent, star. I mean, we saw how good he was. He's just going to be better in my mind. You mentioned best version of Sky Clark. Daly, I mean, just very physical rebounder and does hit some pretty tough shots. And Bilodeau, I mean, he's just so efficient. He's just so good at what he does. He's kind of a throwback player in that sense. He's like a face-up 4-man, but he can shoot the 3, but he can face you up. He's got a whole bunch of moves he can go to. When you need a bucket, he can get you a bucket. That's what you need. Xavier Booker is the concern and the depth. I agree with you on literally everything you said. especially with the fit with Xavier Booker. I was kind of surprised they went after him pretty hard. I thought Butler was like, okay, like Xavier Booker, like it'd be asking a lot, but like, man, that'd be awesome to have him. And then UCLA is just like, the fuck, we'll give him everything. It's like, okay, that's weird fit. And especially because he's kind of more like a pretty boy player. Now you're going to a really physical Mick Cronin team. Weird fit, but I'm very interested in seeing how it works. But yeah, you mentioned literally everything I had. Dent's awesome. Bilodeau's amazing. Daly's solid. Clark's the best version of him you got. I think some of the depth pieces can improve and get better. Yeah, I'm with you.
And then Michigan, we have second. I think they were close to competing with Purdue, but when we talk about Purdue in just a second, you'll see why. Clearly, they're number one. But Michigan, top 10, top 12, top 15, good in college basketball. The Big Ten champions last year. In Dusty May's first year, they bring in Elliot Cadeau. I know he's had his ups and downs in North Carolina, but there's still a really good talent, Elliot Cadeau, to run the show. Roddy Gale, I didn't think he showed his best all year last year, but clearly, if you go back to those Ohio State days, there is a big-time scorer in that body right there. Nimari Burnett, struggled finding his footing coming out of high school, going to Texas Tech, playing at Michigan, but he did make 66 or made threes last year, shot 40% from the three-point line. I thought Dusty put him in a system that worked for Nimari Burnett. Then you bring in two major transfers. Yep. Yaxel Lindenborg from UAB, as everybody wanted, that thought he may go pro, getting him back into college for a grad year. One of the best front court players in college basketball, considering his ability to be a double-double threat. And he's got an NBA-ready body with physicality. I don't think the Big Ten is going to scare him one bit. And then Morris Johnson. I know people looked at his production from Illinois last year, but he was people raved about him this summer with the U19s playing over in Switzerland, considered him one of the best center prospects in basketball right now for next year's NBA draft. Then you bring in Trey McKinney, a five-star freshman guard that's likely to have moments where if Roddy Gale doesn't produce by conference play starting officially in January, I'm not talking about the Big Ten plays in December, but let's say Roddy maybe struggles and McKinney plays up to his five-star potential early. I think by conference play, you could flip those where Gale's sixth man off the bench. McKinney starts because of his ability to score the ball. And I think you've got one of the best freshmen in college basketball playing on one of the best teams in college basketball. Will Shetter comes back, really good depth piece that contributed last year. What's not to love about this Michigan team? And for people doubting Elliot Cadeau because, he didn't show it all the time and was turnover prone and took bad shots at North Carolina, I think that was the North Carolina culture thing where he deferred a lot to R.J. Davis. He's going to have the ball in his hands and trusted to initiate the offense, and I think you will see the best Elliot Cadeau under Dusty May this year. I love this Michigan team.
Yeah, he turned the ball over a lot, Elliot Cadeau did, but he also had 6.2 assists per game, 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. And that was one thing when Dusty was on with us. He mentioned, if there was one thing he'd improve, it'd be assist to turnover ratio. Then he brought in Elliot Cadeau. I think he did that with a purpose. I think there was a reason for that. You mentioned the 2 and the 3 would be the spot where you have questions, but those are very experienced college players. Yaxel's amazing. You went on about it. I could go on about him for hours, but I feel like we've done that enough on this show. Morris Johnson, again, you mentioned one of the better center prospects. I agree. Super physical, very athletic, just catching and dunking everything in the U19 tournament. And you mentioned Trey McKinney too. He's a guy where he's not the most athletic. I don't think he's particularly athletic for this level, but he's got a college bag. He's got a ton of moves he can go to. He can make tough shots. He can hit shots in catch and shoot situations. He can get a one dribble pull up going. He can get a spin shot. His bag is really college ready. So wouldn't be too surprising to see him kick off. But if Roddy Gale's performing, and then maybe McKinney takes a year and we see him down the line being that guy. But yeah, this team very talented. Lindenborg Johnson is as good a front court as you're going to find in the country. And Cadeau, you hope the guards can just be good. They don't need to be amazing, but they need to be good. And Cadeau needs to be solid. He needs to find that form that kind of had him as that 5-star prospect, as one of the best passers we've ever seen in the AAU scene. And if he can do that, the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, and Michigan, remember, especially earlier in the year, had a huge turnover problem despite winning a bunch of ball games. It killed them in the Arkansas game, if you remember. It killed them in the Arkansas game. They hopefully for year 2 of Dusty, they figure out to, take care of the basketball because you got talent this year, but man, Michigan's going to be real good. And then our Big Ten winners, we mentioned even part of the title of this episode, Purdue's conference to lose, ? And I think it is. Braden Smith, the National Player of the Year preseason front runner. Fletcher Lawyer backs a career 40% three-point shooter. CJ Cox is a freshman last year. Saw big improvement as the year went on. Had some moments in games last year where he was able to get 19, 20 points. Trey Kaufman-Renn only got better as the year went on. I thought he struggled at the beginning of the year because he was essentially their only big man after some injuries happened. And once he figured out he could just put somebody's ass on the back or on the block and face them up and attack the rim, or if they were smaller and go to work and kind of either dunk on them or go with that little hook, he blossomed. What do you average over like the last 9 games of the year? I think he was like 19 and 10 or something.
Sounds about right.
He blossomed. And then they bring in Oscar Clough from South Dakota State as kind of the traditional Matt Painter, skilled big who can play back to the basket. He's not the most athletic, but he's a good passer, and he's going to dominate around the rim with his post moves. Jakari Harris saw some time last year as a freshman. Will he make that sophomore leap coming off the bench? I would like to think so. Jack Bentner took a redshirt year, but super talented kid coming out of high school down close by me here in Brownstown Central. Like, I'm talking as a freshman in high school all the way till the time he graduated high school, 40 points a game almost. Daniel Jacobson's the interesting piece here because he was projected to start last year before the injury. Yeah. He did start, right? Before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. 7'4". If you get anything out of him, you got another. You replace Oscar Clough with 7'4". That's right up Matt Painter alley. This team is loaded. They've got the best point guard in college basketball. They got the best player. They've got an elite shooter. They've got one of the better kind of, I won't say stretch because he doesn't really step out and hit threes, but kind of 15-foot in power forwards and Trey Kaufman-Renn. They've got a very skilled, yet unathletic, but very skilled center. They've got good depth pieces, and they've got the best coach, arguably, in the Big Ten. This team's number one in the Big Ten, probably preseason number one in our rankings when we get everybody together here in a couple weeks. This team is loaded to bear, and if they don't win the Big Ten, something I think has went terribly wrong.
Yeah, Braden Smith, best player. You mentioned it. Foster Lawyer, 40%. Trey Kaufman-Renn. Smith and Renn at TKR were probably the best 1-2 punch in the country towards the end of the season. And they're both back. So, of course, we're going to be super high on them. And then you mentioned Daniel Jacobson. I was going to talk about him a lot. He started a lot last year, 7'4", experience. He's just getting better. We know how Matt Painter is with really tall guys. Let's be real. It's just going to work out. It will work out. And until one shows that it doesn't work out, it's going to work out. And that's my expectation here. Maybe he's even playing over Oscar Clough later in the year, but Oscar Clough was like 16-9, I believe.
Yeah, South Dakota State, yeah.
And then Omer Meyer was awesome for the U19 team with Israel. He was playing with Israel. He was excellent, creating in the pick and roll, really showing that he's that 6'4", a big guard. He looked great. Really nice jump shot. Knows how to run a team. He looks like he's going to be a very solid piece off the bench. CJ Cox, Jakari Harris, you're getting solid production from there. Matt Painter just knows how to evaluate guys and knows how to find guys that will fit his system. Those two guys do. Yeah, very high on this team. I don't have him number one in the country, as you and maybe a whole bunch of other people will. I think I have him second. So, yeah, I think they're actually going to be terrible. No, this team's excellent. Braden Smith, DKR. I'm good.
Yeah, like they're loaded to bear. Let's hit our awards here before we get out. Player of the year, to me, I think it's simple. It's Braden Smith. If he's the National Player of the Year preseason, he's got to be your Big Ten Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Got to be, right?
Entirely.
Coach of the Year. So I went the easy route, but I've got my honorable mention, who I know is your Coach of the Year, so we'll hit it both here. My Coach of the Year in the Big Ten is Matt Painter, simply because if they're as good as they should be, they're going to go. The Big Ten plays what? 20 games? Or they're a 20-game league?
I believe it's 20.
20. Look, if Purdue hits their ceiling, they're going to lose 3 max. 17-3, they're going to be one of, if not the number one team in the country. To me, I know a lot of people focus on, Coach of the Year usually goes to the coach who surprises everybody, like Greg Gard did last year with Wisconsin. That's not all the time. If you have these high expectations, you manage to meet or exceed them, I think that deserving Coach of the Year, I've got Matt Painter. But I want you to name my honorable mention because we've raved on him this whole episode.
It's literally the exact argument you made of the team that I think is going to perform the most. That is my exact argument. I have Tanny Sprinkle. I think this team.
I had this written down, and I showed him.
Yep.
Honorable mention, Danny Sprinkle. Because I think if they've come out of nowhere and as good as we think they can be, like he's going to get a lot of nods for Big Ten and probably National Coach of the Year because they're going to be a top 25 team. Freshman of the year is very hard. We talked with Coach about when you look at this is a lot of upperclassmen type league this year. I went Trey McKinney simply because I do believe whether it be 6-man or he does slide in the starting role, he's a big time enough scorer on a very good team. I think he gets freshman of the year over guys like Darius Adams or Caden Mingo, but that's just because I think he's very good on a very good team. I think it should translate to production, which would help in that award.
Yeah. So I was down at 2. One of them was Caden Mingo. That was before that was probably the main not the main reason, but that was one of the reasons I asked Coach about him. But I think I'm going to go with sticking with the biases. I think this guy is eligible. I'm checking that now, just making sure he is eligible to win freshman of the year and is logged as a freshman, which I believe he is. Yeah, he's an 06. So yeah, he is. Yeah, I got Hannes Steinbeck at Washington. He's going to play a lot. He's going to play a lot on a team that I think is going to be very good, and I think he's very good. I think his skill really fits this team, that he doesn't necessarily need the ball to be effective, but he'll be really good in his role, catch and shoot. He can dunk. He can rebound. He does just about everything you need from a big man. Catch, pass, shoot, dunk, whatever you need. I think he's awesome. I think he's going to be the best front court player on this Washington team, and I think it's a team that's going to surprise people. And a lot of how I look at this award is how much are these guys going to play. I know he's going to play quite a bit. So I got him.
Hey, how about the renaissance of German college players? You've got Hans Steinbeck, you got Sanad Fru down there at Louisville. Hey, the Germans are making a comeback. I like it. Newcomer of the year in the league, you got a lot to choose from. Axel Lindborg, you got all these different players. We've talked about Bennett Sturts. I went Donovan Dent. Look, if you say he's going to finish top 3 in this league and be as good as we think, a potential 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, he's going to have the ball in his hands to make plays. To me, I think newcomer of the year slightly over some of these other guys is Donovan Dent.
Yeah, I didn't write this one down. I'm just going to do it off the top of my head. Take one guess who I'm going to pick to be newcomer of the year, Josh. Take one guess.
You will pick Axel Lindenborg.
You see, that's too chalky, Josh. It's Bennett Sturts. That's my guy.
Oh, Bennett Sturts. Yeah, I just said him too. I just said him. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of good candidates, right?
My guy.
So there's a lot of good candidates.
He's going to be like maybe Axel isn't the. I mean, he's going to be the best player on that Michigan team, but like maybe some of these other guys kind of take away from that. And his award is just being on the first team and then being on a team that's a 2 seed in March. Versus Bennett Sturts, he might be on a bubble team, but maybe he's averaging like an efficient 19.5 points a game. And this is the way they want to award him. Bennett Sturts.
And then first team all Big Ten, very honestly kind of tough. Some of these guys I know will argue, and we do, as always, we do a traditional 5-man. I could have went 5 guards. I did, and I went 3 guards, 2 forwards here. But there's a lot of dudes like Lamar Wilkerson could be. He's probably on a 2nd or 3rd team. You've got some of these who – I mean, you'll be mad. I don't have Bennett Sturts on here. He'd be on my 2nd team leading the way. But my first team all Big Ten, Braden Smith from Purdue, Donovan Dent from UCLA, Jackson Shellstad. We did not mention him yet, but I think he's going to be on a very good competitive Oregon team, and he's going to score a lot of points. I think that'll get him enough for all first team Big Ten. Trey Kaufman from Purdue and Axel Lindenborg. That is my preseason all first team Big Ten team.
I love Jackson Shellstad from the mean streets of Westland, Oregon. Really good game. Smaller, undersized point guard. He's fun. I really like his game. But my only change from your team is I swapped Jackson Shellstad for I think you can guess who.
Bennett Sturts.
Yeah.
And I said that's very difficult, right? And I think a lot of that has come to do with these awards a lot of times too are how good's your team performing. Like you see it in all sports. And so I have Oregon 5th. I have Iowa 13th. If they have comparable stats, which they very well could, let's say both average 20 a game and like 6.5 assists or whatever, you're probably going to give that nod to Shellstad because he overall has a bigger impact on winning considering his team. I
see that argument. Yeah. And also it's very tough because this league is like 27 damn teams.
Yep. Yeah, well, 18. So there's our Big Ten preview. We want to thank Coach Rhoades again for joining us, man. We always have time for him. We have, or at least in my account, I have 11 potential NCAA tournament teams from this league, 8 locks, 3 bubbles, 11 potential. I think this league is going to contend for best conference in college basketball. Very deep league. They have 3 of the better teams overall in college basketball in Purdue, Michigan, UCLA, and then a whole host of teams that can really make some noise. Your final thoughts on the Big Ten before we wrap this up?
I'd go 13 tournament teams that could make the tournament. I'd go 6 locks. Washington would be my last lock. But yeah, this league should be fun. I think like the mid-tier, like even including Washington in that, maybe even Oregon, from even Illinois, from 4 to like 13. Like I could see that being separated by like 2 games, really. Mm-hmm. Like those are some teams that's like they're pretty close. And even Ohio State, if you throw it in there, if they're playing at the talent level, they're in that conversation too. So yeah, a lot of talent, a lot of teams. Like there'll be a lot of close games, and those make for the fun games. Close games at home, loud arenas. We should be getting that out of the Big Ten. I don't know if I buy this Purdue team to be my national champion, but this is probably the best chance the Big Ten has had to have a national champion since the last time Purdue was in the national championship. So 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I agree. I think there's a lot of quality, a lot of teams that could surprise on the national stage, not just the Big Ten, like we've talked about with Washington and even USC or Indiana, Illinois, whoever the case may be. This was a really fun episode. Thank you for all that were tuned in on this Friday afternoon. We will be back sometime early next week with episode 232, where we'll be doing the previews and predictions for, drumroll, we're going to DeRosa's conference. We're heading to the Big East. Is it UConn's conference again? We will talk about that and more on episode 232. Until then, you guys have a good, safe weekend, and we will catch you guys down the road. Peace.